Hi everyone, how are you today? It has been a crazy busy week where I'm at and given what I do for a living. To answer that question straight out the gate, yes, I am still in the legal field. When I first started this channel several years ago, I was working in bankruptcy law, then I shifted gears and did criminal defense law, and now I've shifted gears again and work on the opposite side of the spectrum. I keep things like that vague for a reason, and I hope that everybody will respect my privacy on that one, just as I try to respect everybody else's privacy on certain things that they want kept private. I did write down some questions that people have asked me. I did get the questions that came in the comments, so thank you for that. For those of you that did drop a few questions that you wanted answered, this video is all about answering those questions. And then as we progress here in the next week or so, I did have a very dear and close friend of mine who also posted a comment, ask me if I would do a reading for them. And yes, I will be doing a reading for them. It isn't going to be in this video. However, it will probably be posted sometime either midweek, possibly towards the end of the week. It all depends on how things go and how quickly I can get that space set up, and I'll elaborate on that here momentarily. That very easily could end up being two separate videos, and as per their request and to respect their anonymity, I cannot talk today to save my life, I will be using a pseudonym for them. And they have given me permission to post their readings in my channel, so you all will be able to see those readings as well. To get to the questions and to answer some of your curiosities, we are going to address probably the most recent question first, which is, why was I gone for so long and am I okay? And thank you to the individual who asked that question. I very much appreciate it, and for you checking to make sure that I'm okay. That's kind of a multifaceted question with a no real singular answer. I was gone for 3 years because I needed to work on me. And to elaborate on that, physically, am I okay? Yes. I'm fine. My health is good. That of my family is good, and so on. Where I wasn't so okay was on the mental health aspect of that, and I will likely be doing a separate video discussing mental health at another time. Probably not this week, maybe not even next. We'll see how things go. I realized the hard way that not only was I working a full-time job and taking care of my family and helping them, but I was also trying to give 100% to this channel and to you all, and as the saying goes, you can't serve two masters. On top of all of that, I was very much struggling with my own mental health, and as the saying goes, you can't pour from an empty cup. I needed to work on me in my heart and in my mind to get me sorted out and make sure I was okay. For those of you who have been following my channel for a while, the last video I posted 3 years ago was a video montage that my daughter had put together for my late son. And I needed to focus on helping her get through that. She's in counseling. Now she's getting ready for school. My husband has always been my rock and my support, and there were some times when he was struggling as well. Then myself, and I needed to focus on me and get me straight before I could really focus on being able to provide what I provide for you guys. And so to that end, to answer you, yes, I'm good now. I have been through the ringer and back in more ways than one, and I hadn't just dropped the channel with the intention of being gone forever. I had actually thought about coming back multiple times, and I'm very big on trusting your gut, very good on, or very big, excuse me, on trusting your instinct. And finally, it came to a point where those little pushes became bigger pushes and then became a shove. And then it got to a point where I knew I needed to come back. Part of that went into me asking several people who were close to me, do you think I should? And every last person that I asked said what I already knew within my heart and within my soul, which is, yeah, I needed to come back. I can't help as many people in person as I would like to, but this provides a format and a forum where I can come forth and provide a service and help people. Now, to that end, we're going to ask or answer one of the other questions. I'm reading from my paper here, which is, how are my readings better or different from the norm? Here's the difference. A lot of people, and I'm not going to bash or smash on anybody else who has a YouTube channel or who does tarot. I will say that there are some out there who have memorized the little booklets that come in the books or in the cards and have read one of 10,000 books that are out there and memorized those. And there is a time and a place and a purpose for all of that. And yes, every now and again, I will reference what the books say or what the general meaning is behind the cards. However, here is how I am different. Not necessarily better, but different. And that is the fact that I will always fall back on what my intuition and my gut says, which is in part how the readings are different than everybody else's, because while you may have, say, the Ace of Wands appear in 3 different readings back to back, that Ace of Wands, depending on the position of the card and the meaning of the surrounding cards and what's coming through, can mean 3 very different things. So that answers that question as to how do I differ from the norm. I always use my intuition. Now, also with that, as many of you who have been following me for a while are aware, I will occasionally hear spirit, and spirit will come through. Now, that's not to say I hear voices. I don't. Spirit chooses to come through in a multitude of different ways. It can come through by smell. I may, especially if you are in the room with me, I may get a smell that comes through that means absolutely nothing to me, but will mean everything to that person. Or I'll get an image, and a lot of times it won't mean anything to me, but for the person that it's meant for, it will mean everything, which is also how you know that I am not just coming up with something random, that spirit is really coming through. And to expand upon that, can I control when spirit chooses to come through? Nope. I could go into a reading and be focused on what the cards are telling me, and all of a sudden I'm getting images or I'm getting smells, and I know that spirit's coming through. Or if they do decide to communicate verbally, it isn't like you would imagine, or like what might have been projected by Hollywood, which is that, you hear voices, or to quote The Sixth Sense, I see dead people. No. For me, when spirit chooses to come through, it's generally a higher pitched tone, or almost like a chirping, and they're usually up here and I can hear them coming through. And again, it won't mean anything to me, but it will mean everything to the person. And it will usually, not always, but more often than not, usually there is something that comes through in that reading that there is no possible way that I could know. But and usually it's something personal. It might be a familial nickname, or it might be somebody's grandfather or uncle or aunt or whatever that's coming through, or possibly even a parent or a sibling, and it's something that was just between them, almost like an inside joke. And when that happens, it clicks. And when it clicks, for those people, then I know that there's something that came through that registered with them. And when that happens, that is how that person knows that I'm legitimate and that I'm not just blowing smoke up their or up their rear end. And keeping this relatively clean, those of you who know me on a personal level know that sometimes I can tend to cuss like a sailor, and you'll probably hear that at some point during one of my readings or my videos, especially if I'm quoting Spirit, because let's be honest, Spirit doesn't always keep it clean. There are a lot of spirits out there who their personal thing was they would tell dirty jokes or cuss like a sailor, and that tends to come through. How did I get into tarot? That is something that actually I grew up with. I have always grown up with the craft. I tend to be more eclectic in my belief system, meaning I pull things that feel right in the moment, but I don't ever go towards the darker side of things. I follow my gut, and that is a big thing on my belief system. To explain that, sometimes I may go back to my roots and I may go towards the incenses and the oils. Other times I may grab some crystals or some stones and charge them during the full moon or the dark of the moon or an eclipse or whatever, and then spray the area that way. I may turn on sound and rock out to some tunes while I'm cleaning the house. It serves a dual purpose. Sound can have an exponentially great effect at clearing stagnant or stale energy in a space, as can clearing out some of the clutter. You open windows and now you are allowing all of that negativity and that negative energy an exit point. You're not keeping it up, stirring it in your space. It's exiting, which is a huge thing if you're looking to clear negativity. So with that, I grew up with it. My mom read tarot. My daughter now reads tarot. I had other people around me who would read tarot. And then there was a lady who I met, who I will just call by her first name, which is Ellen. And she has now since passed. She is on the other side doing whatever it is she's doing over there. Probably something very similar to what I grew up with. But I was somewhere around 12 or 13 years old and she read my palms. And that was the first time. She read my palms multiple times over a 2 or 3 years period. But that first time really affected me insofar as it wasn't just something that she had picked up out of a book somewhere. It was things that pertained to me and the situation I was asking about. At the time, it was just general. But there were things that came up that were very personal to me that there's no way she could have gotten out of a book. And that was where I first started to grasp reading by intuition. Then over time, as I had other people who had read for me with cards, and I began to notice a difference. Those that read directly from the book or who had memorized the meanings or were constantly going back to the book didn't feel as sincere and didn't feel as right to me as those who read by intuition. And their readings, the ones who read from the books, while maybe accurate here and there, didn't feel as accurate as those who were reading by intuition. So I began to pay attention to my intuition. I can remember having prophetic dreams where I would dream something and then maybe a day or a week or a month later, it would come back and it would play out exactly the way that I had seen in my dream. So that's also an element of it. Then there is the element of knowing. And there is a term for that. I don't remember the term off the top of my head, but that sense of knowing. You know how something is going to play out. You know how something is going to happen. It may be from knowing that you are going to, let's say you're looking for an apartment. I've actually had this happen. I was looking to move. My lease was up. My daughter was probably about a year and a half old at the time. And I had put in the application and was waiting for it to come back. And I knew that that was where I was going to be. Didn't know what unit I was going to be in. Didn't know exactly when that would be approved or any of those things. But I knew that that was where I was going to end up next. And so that's an example of trusting your intuition and that sense of knowing that I'm talking about. All of those things kind of stacked on each other to get to a point where I began to rely more and more and more on intuition. And I've told people in the past, I can read you. I spend all day reading people. I spend all day reading those micro expressions and your tone, the candor, cadence, the little inflections you put in how you say things. All of those things I read. Tarot happens to be an outlet or a way for me to read people on a specific thing that they want me to read them on that makes them a little bit more comfortable than, say, walking up to them and looking at them and saying, okay, well, and then word vomit. It also tends to be a little bit more socially acceptable now than it was, say, in the 90s when I very first started reading. Do I read runes? I have runes. I've never really jumped down that rabbit hole, but yeah, I could probably read them as if I worked with them a little bit more. I do read palms. I've read palms for quite a while. I do read dreams occasionally. However, not really my forte. My forte, at least right now, tends to be palms and tarot. So that, I hope, kind of answers your question, at least as best as I can. Let's see. And I've answered that one. So the last question that I have to answer is, will I be doing lives again? That kind of goes into whether or not I'm going to continue doing readings. And absolutely, that's what this channel is all about. Will I be doing lives again? Yes, but not immediately. And the reason for that is because I need to get back to a point where I have enough people following me on a regular basis that people would actually want to join lives. If people aren't following me on a regular basis and not following the videos that I post on a regular basis, then there won't be enough people to join into a live, and it's not going to be any fun for anybody, and it's going to be pretty boring overall. I will be doing the reading or readings, as the case may be, because that was kind of a dual-edged sword and a dual question that I got asked on the reading that my dear friend had asked me to do. So that video, or a couple of videos, will be going up here in the near future. I will probably be doing readings for people in person, whether they want to be on camera with me or off camera to where you only see me, but I'm clearly interacting with the person and you'll probably hear them talk. It's all over people's comfort level, which kind of goes into another question that I was asked via email, which is, do I ever get stage fright or camera fright? Yeah, a little bit sometimes. If I know, like, I'm going into a live and then there's that stress of, am I going to be able to keep up with people and keep up with the comments as they come in? Which is why when I do lives, I usually have somebody off camera who is able to respond and interact, because it can be very difficult to be able to keep track of the comments as they're coming in and still interact with the person I'm trying to do a reading for on the fly. Do I get camera shy? Sometimes. And not everybody is comfortable on camera. Not everybody is comfortable in appearing on camera, which is why there are those who I may just do a reading for and video it. I'll set up my tripod in my reading space. That'll be sometime during this coming week, in which case those readings will be read and I will post them with their permission, of course. Sometimes those people are comfortable with me doing the reading in person, but not on camera. And again, they'll be off camera. I'll be interacting with them, but they won't be appearing on camera with me. And then, yes, I'll do a few readings with somebody who is comfortable appearing on camera, in which case they'll sit next to me, like what I've done before when I brought people on my channel. I'm determining right now and kind of putting a lot of thought into whether or not I'm going to go back and pull the videos that I've done before and that were 3 years ago, or whether or not I'm going to leave them posted for those of you who maybe want to go back and see. And to answer yet one more question, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut this so that way I can get it posted. Yes, the email account that I had prior is still up. To those of you who sent me a few emails, I thank you. Thank you for reaching out, and I probably didn't respond because, again, I was fixing me, and I was working on my mental health and working on my heart and healing a broken heart and taking care of that aspect. So I wasn't really focused on posting videos or responding to emails. That email is still up. I will let you know when I plan on accepting email requests for videos or for readings, as the case may be. That will be in the near future. I just need to get my reading space set up to where I have a place to put a tripod with a camera on it and spread out and do the readings. Not all readings can be done on a small space. In fact, generally it's easier if I have space to spread out the cards, because while I intend on doing quick and dirty videos where they are getting to the nuts and bolts of it and I cut through the bullshit real quick, sometimes those readings may end up being a little bit longer because there's more that needs to come through. To that end, I will give you a disclaimer on readings, and it's something that anybody you watch who does tarot should be giving you. They may go into doing a spread for you with the intention of answering the question that is asked. However, not always is that what needs to be answered. Sometimes you have something else going on in your mind or in your life that you need answers to, in which case that is what the reading and the spread will be about. And I've had that happen where somebody wanted a reading done and they wanted that reading done on something very, very specific, and that wasn't what needed answered. And so I was kind of put through the ringer on that, because I ended up doing 6 or 7 back-to-back readings for that same person, and either they were getting the same answer or another question answered that they hadn't asked, because that wasn't what they needed to be paying attention to. That might have been where their focus was, but that wasn't what they needed to be paying attention to. So be prepared that if you ask a question and we do a reading, that may or may not be the question that gets answered. So to that end, I'm going to go ahead and cut this video short. I have family who is waiting off camera because we're going to spend some family time and do some gaming and stuff like that. And it's important to me to spend time with my family, just as it's important, I'm sure, to you to spend time with your family and loved ones. So to that end, I hope I've answered your questions. If you have other questions you would like me to answer, feel free to drop them in the comments below. By all means, if you are wanting to be able to catch the videos when I post them of readings and you haven't already, please like and subscribe, and you'll catch them because you'll start getting the notifications for them. Currently pinned to my channel is my Venmo and my PayPal. You will need those for future videos when we do readings, but I do need to cut this short because I have 3 people in the background who are waiting for me. So love and light to you all, and we'll see you on the flip side. Have a good one.